The garbage moon of 7 smelled like death and chemicals. Sung had lived with that smell for 3 years now. He had stopped noticing it after the first month. A person could get used to anything if they had no other choice. Sung pushed his cart through the dark tunnel. The wheels squeaked against the metal floor. Above him, pipes dripped strange liquids that glowed faintly green. He wore a mask over his face, but it did little to help. The air down here was poison. Everyone who worked the deep tunnels knew they were slowly dying. That was the point. He was 28 years old. Back on the colony world where he grew up, 28 was supposed to be the prime of life. You were supposed to have a career, maybe a family, hopes for the future. Sung had none of these things. He had a cart, a shovel, and a number tattooed on his wrist that marked him as rejected. 3 times he had taken the Galactic integration exam. 3 times he had failed. The hegemony doctors said his brain was wrong. They used fancy words like insufficient neuroplasticity and emotional instability markers. What they meant was simple. He was not good enough to live among the stars. He was not good enough to be anything at all. So they sent him here, to the place where broken things went to be forgotten. Sung stopped his cart at the end of Tunnel 47. This section had been closed for weeks because of structural problems. The ceiling was cracked. Rocks fell sometimes. But the supervisors did not care about worker safety. They only cared about meeting quotas. So here he was, alone in a dangerous tunnel, doing a job that nobody else wanted. He began shoveling waste into his cart. The work was mindless and hard. His back ached. His hands were covered in blisters that never fully healed, but he kept working because there was nothing else to do. A sound made him stop. It was a deep rumble like thunder but coming from below. The ground shook. Sung grabbed the tunnel wall to keep his balance. Dust fell from the ceiling. Then the floor cracked open beneath his feet. He fell. The drop was not long, maybe 10 meters. He landed hard on something that was not rock. It was smooth and cold like glass or metal. Pain shot through his leg, but nothing seemed broken. He lay there for a moment, breathing hard, waiting for his eyes to adjust to the darkness. Slowly, light appeared. It came from the walls themselves. Soft blue patterns began to glow, spreading outward like veins of light through stone. Sung sat up and looked around. His breath caught in his throat. He was in a chamber. The walls were covered in geometric shapes that pulsed with inner light. The ceiling arched high above him, carved with symbols he did not recognize. This was not part of the waste tunnels. This was something ancient, something that had been hidden for a very long time. Sung stood slowly. His leg hurt, but he could walk. He limped toward the center of the chamber where something sat on a pedestal of black stone. It was a sphere, small enough to fit in his palm. Its surface was covered in tiny patterns that shifted and changed as he watched. The light in the room seemed to bend toward it, as if the sphere was the center of everything. He knew he should not touch it. He knew he should climb back up and report this to the supervisors. But something stopped him. A feeling deep in his chest. A voice that was not quite a voice, whispering in a language he did not understand but somehow knew. Sung reached out and touched the sphere. Pain exploded through his body. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. The sphere pressed against his palm, then pushed through his skin like it was made of water. He felt it travel up his arm, through his chest, and settle somewhere behind his heart. His vision went white. His thoughts scattered like leaves in a storm. Then everything went quiet. Sung opened his eyes. He was lying on the floor of the chamber. The sphere was gone from the pedestal. He could feel it inside him now, warm and alive, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. A voice spoke in his mind. It was calm and ancient, neither male nor female. "I am the Arbiter. I have waited 4.7 million years for you." Sung tried to speak, but his mouth would not work. He thought his response instead. "What are you? What did you do to me?" "I am a tool of the precursors, the ones who came before all current civilizations. They created me to find a host who could carry their legacy forward. You are that host." "That is impossible," Sung thought. "I am nobody. I failed every test. I am rejected." "Yes," the Arbiter replied. "That is exactly why I chose you." Sung did not understand. He lay on the cold floor and tried to make sense of what was happening. His body felt strange, like it belonged to someone else. When he looked at his hands, he could see faint lines of light running beneath his skin. The precursors studied the rise and fall of civilizations for millions of years, the Arbiter continued. They found a pattern. Every great civilization eventually becomes cruel. Power gathers in the hands of a few who tell the many that they are not good enough. The rejected are cast aside. The weak are abandoned, and the civilization collapses under the weight of its own cruelty. "So what?" Sung thought. "What does that have to do with me?" The precursors tried to break this pattern. They created arbiters like me and gave us to the powerful. Kings, generals, leaders of great nations. Every single one failed. Power corrupted them. They used us to make themselves stronger instead of making the galaxy better. The Arbiter paused. Sung felt something like sadness in its voice. "So I decided to try something different. I would not choose someone powerful. I would choose someone the galaxy had thrown away. Someone who knew what it meant to be called worthless. Someone who had every reason to hate the system but still kept going." Sung thought about his life. 3 failed exams. Years of being told he was defective, working in poison tunnels until his body gave out. He had never hurt anyone. He had never given up. He had just survived day after day because that was all he could do. "I do not want power," he thought. "I just want to be left alone." "I know," the Arbiter replied. "That is also why I chose you. Those who do not want power are the only ones who can be trusted with it." Sung closed his eyes. His body was changing. He could feel knowledge flooding into his mind. The mathematics of reality, the flow of energy through all things, the connections between every atom in the universe. It was too much. It hurt. "Rest now," the Arbiter said. "Your body needs time to adapt. When you wake, everything will be different. You will see the universe as it truly is, and then you will have to make a choice." "What choice?" Sung asked, but the darkness was already taking him. The last thing he heard was the Arbiter's voice, soft and almost kind. "The choice that every rejected soul must face. To become bitter or to become better. To tear down the system that hurt you or to build something new. Sleep now, Sung. Tomorrow your real life begins." And in the ancient chamber beneath the garbage moon, surrounded by technology older than human civilization, the rejected man slept. Inside his chest, the Arbiter waited. Above him, the galaxy continued to spin, unaware that everything was about to change. A rejected human finds an ancient device in ruins. Together, they transform the universe. Part 2. Sung woke to the sound of voices. They were far away, echoing through the tunnels above him. Someone was calling his worker number. The supervisors must have noticed he was missing. He sat up slowly. His body felt different, stronger somehow, but also lighter. The pain in his leg was gone. When he looked at his hands, he could see faint threads of light moving beneath his skin, pulsing with his heartbeat. "How long was I asleep?" he asked in his mind. 14 hours, the Arbiter replied. "Your body has completed the first stage of integration. You will experience more changes in the coming days." Sung stood and looked around the chamber. In the soft blue light, he noticed details he had missed before. The symbols on the walls were not random. They told a story. He could not read them yet, but somehow he knew what they meant. They spoke of a galaxy full of life, of civilizations rising and falling, of hope and failure and the endless search for something better. "I need to get back," he said. "They will punish me if they think I was hiding from work." "You could stop them," the Arbiter said. "You have abilities now that you do not yet understand. No one on this moon could stand against you." Sung shook his head. "I am not going to hurt anyone. I just want to go back to my quarters and think." The Arbiter was silent for a moment. Then it spoke again, and there was something like warmth in its voice. "This is why I chose you." Climbing back up to the tunnel was easier than Sung expected. His body moved in ways it never had before. He could see in the dark. He could feel the stability of the rock around him, knowing exactly where to put his hands and feet. When he reached the top, he brushed the dust from his clothes and walked toward the exit. The supervisor was waiting for him, a tall, thin alien with 4 arms and gray skin. Its name was something Sung could not pronounce, so everyone just called it Boss. It looked at him with cold, black eyes. "Where were you, human?" "There was a collapse," Sung said. "I fell into a hole, I just climbed out." Boss studied him for a long moment. Then it made a clicking sound that meant it was not happy but did not care enough to investigate. "Get back to work. Double shift tomorrow for missing quota." Sung nodded and walked past. He could feel the supervisor's eyes on his back, but he did not turn around. He had bigger things to worry about now. The exile quarters were on the far side of the processing facility. Hundreds of workers lived in small metal rooms stacked on top of each other. The air was slightly better here, but not by much. Sung walked through the narrow corridors, keeping his head down. He was almost at his room when someone stepped in front of him. Was 34 years old with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She was one of the few other humans on 7. Like Sung, she had been rejected and exiled. But her crime was different. She had been an engineer on a space station. When she found safety problems that could kill workers, she reported them. The company silenced her. The hegemony called her a troublemaker and sent her here. She had never spoken more than a few words to Sung before. Now she stood in front of him with her arms crossed, blocking his path. "Something happened to you," she said. It was not a question. Sung tried to walk around her. "I do not know what you mean." "Yes, you do." She grabbed his arm. Her grip was strong. "I have been watching you for 3 years. You always look tired. You always look beaten. But right now you look like a completely different person, and your eyes are glowing." Sung touched his face. He had not noticed. "It is nothing." "Do not lie to me," lowered her voice. "I worked in classified facilities before they sent me here. I have seen things. Technology that the hegemony hides from everyone. And whatever happened to you, it feels like that. It feels old and powerful and dangerous." The Arbiter spoke in Sung's mind. "She is perceptive. Be careful what you tell her." "Can I trust her?" Sung thought back. "That is for you to decide. But she is correct about one thing. The hegemony knows about technology like me. They have been hunting arbiters for thousands of years." Sung looked at. He saw the intelligence in her eyes, the determination in the set of her jaw. She had risked everything to tell the truth once. She had lost everything because of it, but she had never stopped being who she was. "Come to my room," he said quietly. "I will explain." He told her everything. The fall, the chamber, the sphere that had merged with his body. She listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was silent for a long time. "Do you believe me?" he asked. "I believe that you believe it," she said. "And I believe that something real happened to you. Show me something, prove it." Sung did not know what to do. He looked at his hands. The lines of light pulsed beneath his skin. He concentrated, trying to feel the power the Arbiter had mentioned. Energy flowed through him. He felt it like warm water running through his veins. Without thinking, he reached out toward the small lamp in the corner of his room. It was broken. It had been broken since he arrived. But as he focused on it, he felt the pieces of metal and wire inside. He felt how they were supposed to connect, and he made them connect. The lamp flickered to life. Stared at it, then she stared at him. "That is impossible." "I know. Do you understand what this means?" Her voice was shaking now. "The hegemony killed entire species to keep this technology secret. If they find out you have it, they will destroy this entire moon." As if the universe wanted to prove her point, an alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed in the corridors outside. A voice came over the speakers, mechanical and cold. Attention! A hegemony patrol ship has entered orbit. All workers are to remain in their quarters until further notice. Any worker found outside will be terminated. Went pale. They know. They must have detected something when you activated. The Arbiter's energy signature, the voice in Sung's mind confirmed. I tried to suppress it, but the initial bonding released a burst that would be visible to sensitive equipment. A patrol was already in this sector. They are coming to investigate. What do we do? Sung asked out loud. Was already moving. We need to warn the others. If the hegemony thinks this moon is hiding something, they will not just take you. They will kill everyone to make sure there are no witnesses. The others have never cared about me. Why would I risk myself for them? Stopped at the door. She turned and looked at him with eyes that burned with something Sung did not understand. Because that is the difference between them and us. They throw people away. We protect them. If you have the power you say you have, then you have to choose what kind of person you want to be. Right now. Tonight. She left. Sung stood alone in his small room, listening to the alarms. Above him, somewhere in the dark sky, a hegemony ship was descending. It carried soldiers with advanced weapons. It carried commanders who had destroyed worlds. And all that stood between them and the exiles of Seven was a rejected human with a power he did not understand. She is right, the Arbiter said. This is the moment of choice. Hide and survive alone or stand and protect those who never protected you. What will you do, Sung? Sung closed his eyes. He thought about his life. All the times people had turned away from him. All the times he had been told he was worthless. It would be so easy to believe them. It would be so easy to care only about himself. But that was not who he was. That had never been who he was. He opened his eyes. The light beneath his skin glowed brighter. I will stand, he said. And he walked out into the corridor to face whatever was coming. A rejected human finds an ancient device in ruins. Together, they transform the universe. Part 3. The hegemony ship landed in the central yard of the processing facility. It was a military vessel, sleek and black, covered in weapons that could turn the entire moon to ash. Sung watched from the shadows between two storage buildings as the loading ramp lowered and soldiers marched out. There were 20 of them, wearing armor that looked like liquid metal. They carried rifles that hummed with energy. At their center walked a tall figure with green scales and yellow eyes. Commander. Sung had never seen him before, but the Arbiter provided the information instantly. Commander has served the hegemony for 300 years. He specializes in suppressing precursor discoveries. His kill count is estimated at over 2 million sentient beings. Sung felt cold. 2 million lives, and this creature had come here to this forgotten moon because of him. Appeared at his side. She had gathered others. About 30 exiles stood in the darkness behind them, aliens of various species mixed with a handful of humans. They looked scared but determined. They are searching the facility, whispered, building by building. They have not found the chamber yet, but they will. An old man pushed his way to the front of the group. His name was One. He was 70 years old, one of the oldest humans on Seven. He had been exiled 40 years ago for teaching forbidden history. You are the one said, looking at Sung with wonder. I can see the light in you. My grandmother told me stories about this, the arbiters, the gifts of the precursors. You know about them? Sung asked. Every human colony has secret archives, One replied. Hidden knowledge passed down through generations. The hegemony tries to destroy it, but truth is hard to kill. He grabbed Sung's arm with surprising strength. Do you know why humans are so rare in the galaxy? Why we are isolated on distant worlds, kept away from the centers of power? Because we failed the integration tests. Because our brains are wrong. One laughed bitterly. That is the lie they tell. The truth is much simpler. Humans have the highest compatibility rate with precursor technology of any known species. We bond with it naturally. The hegemony fears what we might become if we ever gained access to it. So they made tests we could never pass. They called us defective and scattered us across the stars. Sung felt anger rising in his chest. His whole life he had believed there was something wrong with him. He had accepted the shame of being rejected, and it was all a lie. Focus, the Arbiter said in his mind. Anger is useful, but not now. The soldiers are approaching. Commander had reached the center of the yard. He stood under a bright light and raised his voice so everyone could hear. Attention, workers. A dangerous piece of technology has been activated somewhere in this facility. We are here to retrieve it. Anyone who provides information will be rewarded with better living conditions. Anyone who hides information will be executed along with everyone in their housing block. The exiles around Sung shifted nervously. He could feel their fear. Many of them had families, friends, people they cared about. The hegemony was offering them a terrible choice. Stay quiet, Sung said. I will handle this. How? Demanded. There are 20 soldiers with weapons that can cut through steel. Sung did not answer. He stepped out of the shadows and walked toward Commander. The soldiers immediately pointed their weapons at him. Sung kept walking. He felt the Arbiter's power flowing through him, warm and steady. He was not afraid. Stop, commanded. Identify yourself. My name is Sung. I am the one you are looking for. Studied him with cold eyes. Then he made a sound that might have been a laugh. You, a human, one of the most pathetic species in the galaxy, the Arbiter chose you. Yes. Raised his hand. The soldiers adjusted their aim. Then you will come with us. Surrender the Arbiter and I will let the other workers live. Refuse and I will burn this moon until nothing remains. Sung could feel the truth in those words. Had done it before. He would do it again without hesitation. The lives of thousands of exiles meant nothing to him. I have a different offer, Sung said. Take your soldiers and leave. Never come back. Do this and no one has to get hurt. Laughed again. This time it was louder. You threaten me. You are one human with technology you do not understand. I have conquered planets. Then you leave me no choice. Sung reached out with his mind. The Arbiter guided him, showing him the flows of energy all around. The soldiers' weapons were powered by small reactors in their armor. Those reactors drew energy from a central source in the ship, and that source could be disconnected. He disconnected it. Every weapon went dead at once. The soldiers looked at their rifles in confusion. They pressed buttons, checked connections. Nothing worked. What did you do? Demanded. I turned off your weapons. I could have turned off your hearts instead. I could have stopped the blood in your veins. The Arbiter gives me power over energy itself. All energy, including the energy that keeps you alive. He took a step forward. The soldiers backed away. But I am not going to kill you. Not today. Not ever if I can help it, because killing is what you do. It is what the hegemony does, and I am not like you. The Arbiter spoke in his mind and its voice was strained. You are pushing too hard. Your body is not ready for this level of control. You need to stop. Sung could feel it. Pain was building behind his eyes. His muscles were starting to shake, but he could not stop. Not yet. Commander, I am going to let you go. You will return to your ship and leave this moon. You will tell your superiors that the Arbiter was destroyed in the collapse. You will never speak of this again. And if I refuse? Sung reached out and touched his chest. He let a tiny amount of energy flow into the commander's heart, just enough to make it skip a beat, gasped and stumbled backward. I am giving you a gift, Sung said quietly. I am giving you the chance to walk away. Most people never get that chance from the hegemony. Take it. The standoff lasted for what felt like forever. then straightened his uniform and turned to his soldiers. "Back to the ship, we are leaving." The soldiers obeyed. They marched back up the ramp without looking at the exiles who watched from the shadows, paused at the entrance to the ship and looked back at Sung. "This is not over, human. The hegemony does not forget." "I know," Sung replied. "Neither do I." The ship lifted off and disappeared into the sky. Sung watched it go. Then his legs gave out and he collapsed. And one caught him before he hit the ground. Other exiles rushed forward. For the first time, they were looking at him not with suspicion or indifference, but with something like hope. "He saved us," someone whispered. "The human saved us all." Sung tried to speak, but his vision was fading. The last thing he heard was the Arbiter's voice. "Well done. You showed mercy when you had every right to show anger. You protected those who never protected you. Rest now. When you wake, we have work to do." Carried him to his quarters. She did not leave his side, and in the database of abandoned scanner left behind in the chaos, she found something that changed everything. Coordinates, dozens of them. Locations of other precursor sites across the galaxy. Locations of other arbiters, still sleeping, still waiting for hosts. The game had just gotten much bigger. A rejected human finds an ancient device in ruins. Together, they transform the universe. Part 4. 6 months had passed since that night on 7. Sung stood on the bridge of a stolen hegemony patrol ship, looking out at the stars. The ship had a new name now. The exiles called it the Second Chance. Sat at the navigation console, plotting their next jump. Behind her, one studied the data they had gathered from a dozen worlds. Their crew had grown to 50, a mix of humans and aliens who had joined their cause. Word had spread through the underground networks of exiled workers. The rejected fleet, people called them. A rebellion made of broken people who refused to stay broken. "We are approaching the prison world," announced. "Sensors show heavy security, at least 3 patrol ships in orbit." "Can we get past them?" Sung asked. "If we are very careful and very lucky." Sung nodded. They had gotten good at being careful. Lucky was harder to control. The prison world was called Void Station. It was where the hegemony sent its most dangerous criminals. But according to the data had found, it was also where they sent people who showed signs of precursor compatibility. People like Shin Bai. Bai was 17 years old. She had been born with natural psionic abilities, the power to move objects with her mind. On most worlds, such people were studied and trained, but in hegemony space they were considered threats. Bai had been running since she was 12. 3 months ago, they finally caught her. The data showed something else. A dormant arbiter was hidden somewhere on Void Station. The hegemony did not know its exact location, but they knew Bai might be able to find it. That was why they kept her alive. "We go in quiet," Sung said. "Small team, me and 3 others. Everyone else stays with the ship and waits for our signal." "I still think this is a bad idea," replied. "You are too valuable to risk." "Everyone is valuable. That is the whole point." They made it past the patrol ships by disguising their energy signature as a supply transport. Landing on the station was the easy part. The hard part came after. Void Station was a maze of dark corridors and locked cells. Prisoners screamed from behind metal doors. Guards walked in pairs, carrying weapons that could kill with a touch. Sung and his team moved through the shadows, guided by the Arbiter's ability to sense energy flows. They found Bai in a cell at the deepest level of the station. She was small and thin, with hair that had been shaved close to her skull. Her eyes were empty. They had been using drugs to suppress her powers. "Who are you?" she whispered when Sung opened her cell door. "Someone like you, someone they threw away." He held out his hand. "Do you want to leave this place?" She took his hand. Her grip was weak, but there was still strength in her somewhere. He could feel it. The alarms went off when they were halfway to the exit. Guards came running. Sung used his power to disable their weapons, but more kept coming. Too many. Even with the Arbiter, he could not stop them all. Then Bai screamed. The sound cut through everything. The guards stopped moving, clutching their heads. The lights flickered, and somewhere deep in the station, something old and powerful woke up. The second Arbiter, the voice in Sung's mind said. Her scream activated it. She is the compatible host. A sphere of golden light came floating through the corridor. It moved with purpose, drawn to Bai like metal to a magnet. She reached out without thinking, and it merged with her chest just as Sung's had merged with him. She gasped, her eyes filled with light, then she collapsed. Get her to the ship, Sung ordered. Now. They ran. Guards tried to stop them, but now Sung was not alone. He could feel Bai's Arbiter connecting to his. Their powers linked together, amplifying each other. He did not just disable weapons now. He made doors open. He made walls move. The station itself seemed to bend to his will. They made it back to the second chance. As the ship lifted off, patrol vessels moved to intercept. Sung reached out with both Arbiters and touched their engines. He did not destroy them. He simply turned them off. The patrol ships drifted harmlessly as the second chance jumped to safety. Bai woke 3 days later. She sat up in the medical bay and looked at Sung with new eyes that glowed faintly just like his. I can hear it, she said. The voice, the Arbiter, it says we are connected now. We are. 2 Arbiters working together are stronger than 2 working alone. The precursors designed them that way. They wanted people to find each other, to build something together. Bai was quiet for a moment. I was alone for so long, running, hiding, always afraid. I thought there was something wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with you. The galaxy told you lies just like it told me. We are not broken. We are different, and that is what they fear. The weeks that followed were busy. Bai learned to control her new powers. She was a fast learner, faster than Sung had been. Together, they could do things that seemed impossible. They freed prisoners from other stations. They destroyed supply lines that fed hegemony war machines. They broadcast messages to oppressed worlds, telling them that resistance was possible. But they also found new allies. One of them was Park Dong. Dong was a smuggler. He had spent 20 years moving illegal goods through hegemony space. He was cynical, suspicious, and trusted no one. When he first met Sung, he laughed at the idea of rebellion. The hegemony has controlled this galaxy for 10,000 years, he said. You think 2 humans with glowing eyes are going to change that? Why are you here then? Sung asked. Dong's face changed. The cynicism faded and something painful took its place. Because they took my sister 12 years ago. Her name is. She showed signs of being compatible with precursor technology. The hegemony took her and I never saw her again. We will find her, Sung promised. You do not even know where she is. Then we will search until we do. Dong joined the crew that night. He did not believe in the cause, he said. He only believed in getting his sister back. But over time, as he watched Sung refuse to kill enemies who had surrendered, as he saw Bai use her powers to heal wounded refugees, as he witnessed exiles of a dozen species working together as equals, something changed in him. The hegemony responded to their rebellion with increasing force. They began destroying precursor sites rather than trying to capture them. If they could not have the technology, no one would. One night Sung faced a terrible choice. A hegemony fleet blocked their path to a world where thousands of exiles were trapped. He could destroy the fleet with a thought. The Arbiter showed him how. It would be easy. It would save so many lives. No, he said. Stared at him. What do you mean, no? They will kill everyone on that world. And if I kill everyone in that fleet, I become what they are. Millions of beings serve on those ships. Soldiers, engineers, workers. Most of them are just following orders. Many of them probably hate the hegemony as much as we do. Then how do we save the exiles? Sung closed his eyes. We find another way. The Arbiter spoke in his mind. This is why you are different from the others. Previous hosts would have destroyed the fleet without hesitation. They believed that the ends justified the means. But you understand something they did not. The means become the ends. If you build a new galaxy on a foundation of corpses, it will be just as cruel as the old one. They found another way. Sung broadcast a message to the fleet telling them the truth about the precursors, about the hegemony's lies. Some ships defected. Others hesitated long enough for the exiles to escape. It was messier than a battle. It took longer. But in the end, more people lived. As the second chance jumped away from the chaos, Dong approached Sung. I found something in the hegemony database we captured. Coordinates. A place called the Archive at the center of the galaxy. It is where they are keeping, and according to this, there is something else there. Something the hegemony has been hiding for thousands of years. Sung looked at the coordinates. He felt the Arbiter pulse with recognition. The primary precursor archive, it said. The repository of all their knowledge. I did not know it still existed. Sung turned to his crew. One by Dong and the dozens of exiles who had become his family. This is it, he said. The final mission. We are going to the heart of the hegemony. We are going to find and we are going to end this, one way or another. No one argued. No one asked questions. They simply nodded and began preparing. The rejected fleet set course for the center of the galaxy, and the universe held its breath. A rejected human finds an ancient device in ruins. Together, they transform the universe. Part 5. The archive floated at the center of the galaxy, surrounded by 1,000,000 stars. It was a structure so vast that Sung's mind could barely understand it. A sphere the size of a small moon, covered in the same geometric patterns he had seen in that first underground chamber. It pulsed with energy that made his skin tingle even from thousands of kilometers away. The hegemony fleet guarded it. Hundreds of warships arranged in defensive formations. Weapons platforms that could destroy planets. The full military might of a civilization that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. This is suicide, Dong said quietly. No, Sung replied. This is the end of something old and the beginning of something new. The second chance was not alone. Over the past months, other ships had joined them. Rebels from 100 worlds, exiles from 1,000 prisons, defectors from the hegemony itself. They were not a proper fleet. They were a collection of broken ships held together with hope and desperate repairs. But they were here. They had come to fight. All ships, Sung broadcast. Our goal is not to destroy the hegemony fleet. Our goal is to reach the archive, avoid engagement when possible, disable rather than kill. Remember who we are and what we stand for. Today, we show the galaxy a different way. The battle began. Hegemony ships opened fire. The rebel fleet scattered, weaving through the chaos. Sung and Bai worked together, their arbiters linked, creating shields of pure energy that deflected the worst attacks. But they could not protect everyone. Ships exploded. People died. The cost of this fight was paid in blood. The second chance broke through the defensive line and raced toward the archive. Landing pods launched from its belly, carrying strike teams to the surface of the ancient structure. Sung was in the first pod, with Dong, Bai, and a dozen of their best fighters. They landed in a vast chamber filled with light. The walls were alive with information, streams of data flowing like rivers. This was the repository of precursor knowledge. Everything they had learned in millions of years of existence. Answers to questions that civilizations had asked since the beginning of time. But there was no time to explore. Hegemony soldiers were already inside, and they were not alone. Supreme Regent waited at the center of the chamber. He was ancient, his body more machine than flesh. Tubes and wires connected him to a massive throne that pulsed with stolen precursor energy. He had been alive for thousands of years, extending his life by consuming technology that was never meant for one person to possess. and beside him stood a woman. Dong breathed. Was 28 years old, the same age as Sung. She had been a child when the hegemony took her. Now she was something else. Her body was covered in scars where technology had been forced into her flesh. Her eyes glowed with a sickly red light. She stood perfectly still, like a weapon waiting to be fired. "You came," Regent said. His voice was a mechanical rasp. "I knew you would. The arbiters always seek each other. It is their nature." "Let her go," Sung said. "Why would I do that? She is my greatest achievement. The first successful forced bonding with an arbiter fragment. True, the process broke her mind, but her power remains, and she obeys me completely." Dong stepped forward. "It is me, Dong, your brother. I have been looking for you for 12 years. Did not respond. Her empty eyes stared at nothing. "She cannot hear you," said. "The sister you knew is gone. All that remains is the weapon I created." "Then I will bring her back." Sung walked forward, the arbiter pulsed in his chest. "Bye with me." Together they reached out, not with hands but with their minds. The arbiter network connected them to corrupted fragment. They could feel her pain, her confusion, the walls that had been built inside her mind. Laughed. "You think you can heal her? I spent 12 years perfecting my control. You have had your arbiters for months." "We have something you do not understand," Sung replied. "We are not trying to control her. We are trying to free her." He showed his memories, the garbage moon, the rejection, the long nights of believing he was worthless, then the choice he made to protect others instead of himself, the family he found among other broken people, the hope that grew from the darkest places. Bai added her own memories, running, hiding, thinking she was a monster, then finding others like her, learning that she was not broken, just different. They did not demand anything they did not try to command her. They simply showed her that she was not alone, that there were others who understood, that healing was possible. Something stirred behind dead eyes. "No," snarled. He rose from his throne, power crackling around him. "She is mine." He attacked. Energy slammed into Sung and Bai, throwing them backward. Was strong. Thousands of years of stolen technology made him nearly unstoppable. He walked toward them, preparing to deliver the final blow. Then moved. She grabbed his arm. Her touch disrupted his power, feeding on it, draining it. He screamed and tried to pull away, but she held on. "I remember," she whispered. Her voice was broken, unused for years. "I remember who I was. I remember my brother. I remember being human." The red light in her eyes flickered. Golden light began to mix with it. The corrupted fragment was purifying itself, healing in response to her will. "I choose," said. "I choose to be free." The arbiter fragment in her chest released a pulse of energy that shattered his throne. The ancient regent collapsed, his stolen power gone. He was just a dying old creature now, held together by machines that no longer worked. Dong ran to his sister. She fell into his arms, sobbing. For the first time in 12 years, they were together again. But the battle was not over. The archive itself had awakened. Screens throughout the chamber flickered to life, showing the face of every citizen in the hegemony. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds. The arbiter spoke to Sung. "The archive's broadcast system is active. You can reach everyone. You can tell them the truth." Sung looked at, she nodded. He stepped to the central console and began to speak. He told them everything. The lies about human compatibility, the suppression of precursor technology, the exiles and executions and endless cruelty of a system designed to keep power in the hands of a few. He showed them records from the archive itself, proof that could not be. And then he told them about the choice they all faced. The hegemony is not a law of nature. It is a system built by people who were afraid of change, afraid of equality, afraid that they would lose their power if others were allowed to rise. But you do not have to be afraid. You can choose something different. You can choose to build a galaxy where no one is thrown away, where everyone has value, where the rejected are not cast aside but welcomed back. He paused. Billions of beings watched him across the stars. I am not asking you to follow me. I am not asking you to fight. I am only asking you to think, to question, to imagine something better. The precursors spent millions of years searching for the secret to a just civilization. They finally found it. It is not technology. It is not power. It is simple. He looked at his friends, at who had given up everything for the truth, at one who kept hope alive for decades, at Bai who turned her suffering into strength, at Dong who never stopped searching for his sister, at who chose freedom even when she had every reason to choose death. The secret is this: every being matters. Every life has value. When we treat each other as worthy of dignity, we build something that can last forever. When we throw people away, we plant the seeds of our own destruction. He ended the broadcast. The galaxy was silent. Then slowly the messages began to arrive, from workers on mining worlds, from soldiers who questioned their orders, from governors who wanted to change. Not everyone believed, not everyone agreed, but enough did. The hegemony did not fall in a day. It took years, but it crumbled piece by piece as its own citizens demanded better, and in its place something new began to grow. 10 years later, Sung stood on a terraformed world where former exiles lived freely. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple. Stood beside him, her hair now streaked with gray. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Being rejected, I mean, all those years on the garbage moon." Sung smiled. "Being thrown away was the best thing that ever happened to me. It taught me that the galaxy's measure of worth was broken, and broken things can be fixed." The arbiter pulsed warmly in his chest. Together, they watched the sun sink below the horizon of a world full of people who had been told they were worthless, and had proven that they were anything but. In the distance, children played. They were the first generation born into a galaxy without the hegemony. They would never know what it meant to be rejected, and that, Sung thought, was the greatest victory of all. The universe had been transformed, not by weapons or war, but by mercy and determination and the simple belief that everyone deserved a chance. And it had all started with one rejected human who refused to give up hope.